I will try it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool to see different parts of the world. I would love to travel, so absolutely
Okay.
something I want to do more often. Singapore is not on my bucket list. I think I need to make it. What's your favorite thing about Singapore?
Um, Singapore. To me, it's okay lah. Singapore, just nice.
Yeah?
But oh, okay. I never been in America, but I'm sure America far big. Apa, is the best in the world. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't know if it's the best in the world. There are surely amazing places that I visit, but I haven't compared it to Singapore. So maybe Singapore is better. Regardless, we are blessed for sure to be in America. I'm super grateful to be here. Land of the free, right?
Born in America.
Right.
If I were born in America, of course, America is heaven.
Well, as soon as you can get over here, you should try and experience it. We've got Dr. Michelle Marie in the room too this morning. She is also right here from Virginia Beach, Virginia. So you got two gals from America you can say that you talked to this morning.
I heard America since I was child.
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
New York,
Yeah.
LA.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I've had the gift to go to all those places, and it's definitely wild. I was just in Arizona this past week, and there was an
That's why I like watch American movie.
yeah, all the
watch
good
American
movies.
movie for almost 30 years old.
Oh yeah, yep. Every good movie is from America.
Sometimes every single day I watch American movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, it's funny because we over here in America, though I don't mind watching an American movie, I love learning about other places. So I'm excited about that. And it's funny because we were just having this conversation with my husband this morning over coffee. We were talking about, the exposure that we have to other places and spaces and people and activities, and what that looks like to the nurturing of the character of the person, right? And so like the more you see, the more you're exposed, and sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes that's the bad thing, depending on what you're exposed to, right? Trauma or trials or hardships. And so it still is developing the character ultimately, which I think is amazing, but it's a matter of how you respond and how you process that information that puts you on the path to what I hope would be everybody's path to greatness. Right?
Right.
All right, Mr. Eddie. Well, we are going to get started over here. I am also live on IGTV. I love calling it. I'm actually on a TV show, right? This is my first now. I've been on TV a couple times, but this one is fun because I get to make it what I want to make it. And this conversation started with you this morning. So I'm blessed and highly favored to meet someone all the way in Singapore. And I've seen you pop into the room every once in a while, and so you're welcome at any point. Thanks for being here. But we're going to get started in conversation, and you're welcome to tune in. And if you have something to say, you can chime in, but the people on IGTV might not be able to hear you. So we're going to get started, and I see all my friends on IG. What's up, y'all? Good morning. Happy day. Are we on Wednesday? Yesterday felt so much like a Monday. Today is Wednesday, and we're getting after it. I'm on the Peloton. I'm riding with someone new today. He is mighty handsome. I don't know his name, but we're only like 4 minutes in and he is sweating, like really sweating. I am very blessed that I don't sweat very much, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but here I am talking about sweating in the morning show. But let's do it. If you want to get your sweat on with me, You're going to hear me exasperated as I'm sharing on Clubhouse and even on IG. You'll get to see why I'm exasperated. I try to stay in resistance. This guy's intense. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about staying in resistance. I briefly mentioned it to Eddie this morning, but this morning was unlike most of my mornings because my handsome hot hubby, Gary, decided to make his way downstairs. And sadly to say, it was because of my phone, my Clubhouse phone, that was actually going off with an alarm at 4:30. Oops. I swear I turned it off, but it didn't work. So my earplugs meant I didn't hear it. And he was going through the house like a little quiet kitten trying to find where it was coming from. And lo and behold, it was my Clubhouse phone. So guess what he did? Instead of just turning it off, he started my coffee. He turned the lights up just a little bit, and he came upstairs, gave me a kiss, told me the coffee's ready. Are you gonna get up? This is at like 4:45. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting up. I'm just praying. Because I was just laying there at this point. I'm always usually up around 4. And I've been praying big circles around my prayers. And honestly, it's something I've always done. However, a couple weeks ago when I started Peloton and Preach, I had a girlfriend jump on and she heard it and she was like, I love what you're doing. I have to know how you do and believe so big. How do you have so much faith, right? And how do you actually activate the things that you want from a perspective of God? Like, yeah, we trust him. We trust him in all of our ways. We know that that is true. And yet sometimes it can feel inhibiting. It can feel hard. It can feel too big. And when God gives you desires and he gives you vision, it should feel big. If it's not big, what faith does it take to make it happen? Right? I think that's one thing that people stay small and they stay in their comfort zone. And you guys know, I am not a comfort zone person. I'm like, get out of your comfort zone every single day, right? So my husband stays downstairs with me this morning, or actually he went upstairs and then he heard our dog whose trachea is collapsing, who I told you about this the first week we were on, which is, it's disheartening. It's so hard to hear and witness. She's on an antibiotic, just for an update for my animal lovers in the house. Kelly, I know you care, so I'll tell you. But basically, she's on an antibiotic to help with the infection that's happening in there. And she's on a codeine that she takes twice a day to help her like rest so she's not coughing all day long. But poor baby, they said that she's healthy as all and should be with us for another 7 to 10 years, which is crazy. But to be quite honest, like seeing her cough and hack and experience that all day long, it cannot be comfortable. And even just the sound, I'm like, girlfriend, she can't even sleep in our room anymore because she's coughing all night long and I feel like a bad mama. So speaking of feeling like a bad mama, let's get into today's conversation that stems from what we're talking about: resistance, persistence, and even what Eddie and I were talking about. Eddie's here with me on Clubhouse, hanging out. I might as well jump on there. It's actually also recording, so that way I can put these conversations and clips into audio format, perhaps onto my podcast. Work smarter, not harder, right? Always thinking about content creation. If I'm spending time on here, why am I not also utilizing it to the maximum capacity to be able to share with other people? So persistence and resistance, and how that parallels to being a parent. Man, from either the perspective of being a child, which we all have been at some point, or the perspective of being a parent, whether or not you have kids or nieces or nephews, or just someone who's a mentee beneath you. This is a conversation that I'm going to give people a peek inside of. And it's vulnerable, it's honest, it's real, and it's in regards to doing the things we want to do as parents, setting out to perceive the vision, to achieve the vision, to step into the greatness, the big idea, right, that God's put in our heart. understanding that he would never, in my opinion, give you a dream or an idea that is outside of the confines of the family unit. Let me say that again. He's never going to give you a dream or a vision that is outside of his intended family unit. God is a God of order. He's a God of family. He is a relational God. And therefore, the most important foundation, obviously the relationship with him, but your kids, right? I would say your spouse first, but I understand that there are people who are going through tumultuous situations in regards to their relationship with the opposite sex, the relationship with their spouse, or the pursuit of, and I am very aware of that. I've got people on right now who either aren't married, have been married, and are divorced. They've lost or widowed. I've got married friends on. I've got single friends on. And I think it's important for you guys to understand that I see you, I understand you. And as I share this message about persistence and resistance as a mother, I hope it relates. And I also hope that you find yourself in the midst of it, whether in preparation for your own children, or maybe you're much further along than me. I see Dr. Michelle in the house, and I know she would have some words of wisdom in this regard, because her kiddo is in Texas, right? And so they have togetherness and separateness. And I know God is with him all the time and with her in the emotions that she carries. So where was our conversation? So we go downstairs, I go downstairs, jump into my quiet time reading. I was so excited about it because I started the book yesterday and I knew that there was going to be something amazing. And it was talking about being a seer. And seer and seer are two different things. We'll get into the definitions tomorrow. But I sat there and the dog started coughing, like I was saying before. And Gary makes his way back downstairs. And he sits next to me. And instead of reading, which I could have continued to do, and side note, wanted to, he starts conversating, and I start telling him and sharing with him emotions based on a conversation that we had last night before we went to bed. So I went to sleep. Not in a tumultuous conversation at all, just sharing my heart. But my son, as most of you guys know, is highly into jiu-jitsu right now. And it's amazing. The little warrior, I call him, my little David. And he's just doing amazing in this sport. So much so that we are signing him up for competitions pretty regularly. And I love that. But I also don't want him to get burnt out. And I also am selfishly wanting time with him. Because what happens is those tournaments are always on the weekend. And as a working mama, as somebody who is passionate deeply about her career and her purpose and her vision, knowing again that it's all intertwined with my family and my role as a mom and wife, I just want to be with them. And last weekend I was gone. And so you've heard me potentially talk about mom guilt in the past and what that feels like. And I know that dad guilt is probably the same thing. You know, maybe a little bit different because you didn't actually hold them in your belly. So that separateness feels really difficult. Oh man, they're picking up the cadence over here. My man, bear with me, y'all. Cadence 111, resistance 32. If you are a Peloton rider, this is fast and furious and fun. And so is motherhood, right? When I was pregnant with my second, someone gave me the 18 summers. All you have left is 18 summers. All you have left is 10 summers right now with my son. And it blows my mind. It makes me think how precious time is. It makes me think how big and timely or lack thereof is my dream associated to being his mom. Knowing that I'm going to have all the time in the world. And I've seen this time and time again with moms whose kids go off to college and they have to rediscover their identity. They have to rediscover who they are separate from their child. And I feel like because of the quarter life crisis that I had, that's what I like to call it, I was able to come into that recognition early when they were teeny and realize that there is a separateness and a togetherness. That proximity, regardless of where they live or regardless of where I am traveling for work, doesn't define our connectivity. Proximity doesn't define connectivity. So when I'm traveling and I miss them ferociously, and I'm taking screenshot after screenshot of our FaceTime, or I'm sitting there helping my daughter braid her hair through a phone, or I'm commenting on my son's artwork through a phone, or I'm hearing about their day and their highs and their lows, their joys and their concerns is what we call it. I want to be with them. And yet I know where my feet are planted. I am in purpose, on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. 1, God's with me. 2, he sent me, right? I've already consoled him before I've left them. And I think people need to know that. It's not like on a whim that we just travel. And if you're a traveling parent, you know everything comes with choice. And yet the vision and the dream all come with persistence. And it doesn't mean you don't rest, and it doesn't mean you don't take those times out. We just did 10 days in St. John for Christmas, which was such a gift and a blessing. And it's the knowing that I was present in those times. And I told the kids before I went, hey, Mama's not going to be working during the day. I don't have meetings during the day. I don't have podcasts during the day. We're going to be together all the time. And I was very intentional with that, except for my morning routine where I had to keep the wheels spinning. And that's a choice, right? It's a present, persistent choice, and yet resistance is going to come into play when you're traveling and doing things like this. So here's the resistance. The resistance is, I want my children in line with their vision and purpose. I want us sharpening their tools. I want us sharpening their experiences. I want them, we're going to go back to that word exposure, to be exposed to as many life skills, experiences, people, relationships as possible in the safe harbor of protection, in the safe harbor of security and resiliency, right? And that's our like mama bird, papa bird understanding. Because equally to that, there's going to be the things that are outside of our control. There's going to be the kids at school that are saying things when we're not there to protect or whisper in their ear a response that could work. There's going to be bullying, right? I remember when my son was getting bullied in the Chick-fil-A playground. This was pre-COVID days. And he comes running out crying. I'm like, what's wrong, buddy? They were just playing hide and seek inside the little confines of the Chick-fil-A thing in the middle of winter. He says, they keep calling me a girl because of my hair. My son has rad hair. He looks like Mowgli. I call him that as well. David, Mowgli's got all these other identities, but really he's just Cooper. And I remember thinking how unkind that is, how sad that is, how unfortunate that is, that those kids are missing the opportunity to interact with my amazing son. And so, of course, Mama Bear gets up and goes inside. And I'm like, hey, y'all, this is Cooper. He's got long hair. It's really rad. What's your name? Find out their name. I love your short hair. What made you decide to take your long hair off? You know, who inspired you to cut your hair short? Oh, my mama has short hair. Cool. Just because your hair is short doesn't mean you're a boy, right? It's like having these conversations and exposing our children to them, but understanding that there's going to be resistance in the process. Understanding that parenting is hard. Understanding that even in proximity or lack thereof, I still love my children and I still know the priority that my husband and my kids have in my life. Now, Kelly asked a question and I want to just note it. She said, what happens if you're not married and you don't have kids? Where does the family unit come in and play? I think a multitude of ways. I mentioned the mentees in your life. I mentioned the kids in your life that you could steward. I mentioned the generation of parentless kiddos, fatherless nation, they call it. And so that's where me and my husband's conversation emerged and went into after I was sharing what I went to sleep on last night. So I was gone last week, and this weekend my daughter and I are having a nail party, Color Street Nails. Look, these are still on from my Facebook Live party with her, I guess a week and a half ago. They're amazing. And so we're having an in-person party. This has been on the books. It's been planned since the beginning of January. And knowing that, the guys obviously are like, we're out, peace. We're going to go do something different. And so my husband signed him up for a tournament in another state. And I just missed a tournament last weekend when I was gone. I was out of the state. And so my emotions were firing. My thought patterns were circling. And I'm trying to navigate the conversation safely, both in respect of my husband, who's been here the whole time, in respect to my son, who is so excited about it, and also not trying to be selfish. But as a parent to a parent to a boy and a girl, I'm constantly processing my relationship with them. And I can see the natural tendencies, the natural draw, the natural connectivity of me and my daughter when it comes to all things female, all things girl, all things estrogen. And yet that isn't shared with my son. However, him and I have so much connectivity and dance and being silly and imagination. And yet I know, based on the simple solidarity of gender connectivity, that there's something different. And yet at the same time, I desperately want them to have that connection because of the pain that I see so many kids and parents. I'm a kid and a parent, remember? So are you. If you have kiddos, maybe you're a dog or cat parent. It's a little bit different, but it's this processing that I too have experienced what it feels like not to have that connection with one parent or another at any given time in my life. And so I'm mindful, right? And also I'm a being of emotion. And therefore I feel very deeply about what can I do better? What am I doing wrong? Where can I be sharpened? You know, I'm pretty great at the business thing. I've been that way since I was young. When I have my mind set on a goal or an idea, I can knock it out. I can stay very focused. And yet parenting has an entire other realm because somebody else is a part of the conversation, no different than a marriage, right? I have to consider not only my emotions, but theirs. And it's hard. So I went to sleep with this statement, basically saying, I miss when you guys used to go hiking. I feel like he's doing a lot of tournaments and I don't want him to get burnt out. And I also don't want him to think that that's like the gold is the only thing to chase. Now, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that perspective? What's wrong with those statements? One, behind them is a layer of selfishness. Behind them is my own emotions and processing that I'm actually not voicing at all. I am pinpointing my son as the culprit of conversation and my husband's conversation towards that or action towards that, rather than raising my hand and saying, I just miss you guys. I don't want to miss another tournament. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to be out of proximity with him again. Because guess what? The next weekend, my husband's gone. The next weekend, I'm gone. The next weekend, my husband's gone. The next weekend, my kids are all back together because we travel, because we adventure. And from the outside looking in, it looks really glamorous. But there's a lot of emotions that go along with it. And I'm very mindful about how I'm stewarding it, both in persistence and also with resistance. So when my husband came downstairs to talk this morning and I was able to process those, I was over to pray over them while he was circling downstairs unknowingly, finding and hunting down my alarm clock. I was laying there praying over my son, praying over my daughter, praying over my ability to show up well, very well, to show up present, to show up truthful in my emotions and not be conflicted with the resistance of feeling like I have to create an excuse outside of what I just actually feel. And this is something I've been constantly working towards. I am a people pleaser and I'm a recovering people pleaser. Let me rephrase that. And I even do it in my marriage because for a long time, not because of Gary, but because of childhood trauma, I felt unheard. I felt like my opinion didn't matter. I felt like when I spoke, if my emotions weren't tied to it, then I wouldn't be understood. Or if my emotions weren't tied to it at all, and I was able to come up with another idea, the forward-facing piece that maybe this will be heard, my emotions were still rejected. And so with that being said, we started talking and I said, the truth behind what I shared last night is this. And immediately, right, walls down, he's like, I hear you. I could understand how that's hard. I could understand how that would be difficult. And he also knows firsthand when he was starting his business and going after it when they were babies, the amount of things that he wasn't there for, right? Going to the pumpkin patch on the weekends, or taking them to the aquarium on a random morning, or taking them out to eat, or experiencing something new or something for the first time. And he wasn't there. He was in proximity because he was in the city, but he had to be connected to his phone and connected to the customers and connected to the vision. And so with all of this in regards to persistence and resistance and parenthood, as well as pursuit of your dreams, it's the recognition that ultimately our presence doesn't mean that we aren't able to serve, right? Our presence is where our present is. Our presence is where our feet are, but also where our heart is. My kids know how much I love them. They know when I'm traveling, why I'm traveling. They know what I'm doing. They know who I'm with. They know what my message is that I'm going to be sharing when I'm speaking or teaching. They know that I'm going to share the gospel. They know that I'm going to be a light in a dark place. And I think of all the things I could teach them. It's teaching them that even though I miss them, even though I want to be with them, I also am on mission. And so are you, friend. So are you. I know that there are working parents out there, and it can feel hard, and it feels like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it well? Do they know all the things? Have I taught them all the things? Are they ready for the real world? I think about that for Dr. Michelle, who's in the room, and her son who's about to graduate. I could cry just thinking about it. Whew. Because I don't want them to be 18 and I feel like I haven't done it all. And I feel like I haven't been present enough. And so this is the confliction of persistence and resistance. This is the component of presence, and ultimately, above all things, relying on the fact that my God, your God, loves our kids, loves your kids more than you do. And because you're on mission, because you're aligned, because you're connected to the Holy Spirit, He is parenting your kids with or without you, but more so because of you. And He knows my heart, and He knows your heart. And He wants what's best for them too. And He's going to work all things for good. And so to the fellow parent out there who gets it, who understands that it's hard, to the fellow wife out there who tries to make all the excuses but doesn't share the emotion because they feel like their emotion is weak, be honest, be vulnerable, be willing to face the hard conversations, be okay with being heard, even in what might feel raw, real emotion. It's needed. It's critical. You'll feel so much better afterwards. Your kids will be better for it. You'll show up to work and to life and to play in a better way because you are okay with the fact that you are just human. And at the end of the day, as a parent, as a wife, as a sidekick, as a mentor, I know I'm speaking to so many people with so many different family dynamics. It's the knowing that you showing up fully and entirely in your well-being, in your wholeness, in your alignment, is going to be the gift to those people who are connected to you. So you wake up early, you get on the Peloton, you show up to life, you travel when you're called to it, you do extended learning when you have the time and the space, and then when you're present, fully present, and the people that you love are in front of you, be there, eye to eye, face to face, experiencing life, experiencing the fruits of the Spirit, and know that at any given moment, you're seen, known, and heard, and yet your actions will speak louder than your words. So make sure you're acting in integrity and standing in that space of alignment when it comes to your spouse and your kids. So this is not my typical Peloton and Preach. And I say typical, we've only been doing it for 2 weeks essentially. But I didn't have a traditional quiet time this morning. I didn't have something to drop that was just astronomically new information. You guys have felt this way before, you've heard this before, but ultimately I wanted to share my heart. And that's the whole point of this space and this opportunity. And so I hope it met you. I hope you know that you're not alone and that we're all trying to just get it right. And it's possible, I think, is the other element to all of this. It's possible to be an amazing parent and to be a kick-ass visionary and somebody who has great purpose. So your purpose is in all of the things, not just the one thing. I love you. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to get some abs in, some arms in, and not just Peloton. So I wanted to take this extra 10 minutes and do that for myself. Love you guys. Have an amazing day.